What's up everybody, Sam Smyers here. Today I want to show you how to make a selected style deep house remix. By the end of this video, you should better understand how to make a remix from scratch and also what production elements that you need in order to create this deep house style. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now, the first thing that you want to decide when you are making a remix is what genre of remix you want to make, because this is going to determine a lot of factors which you need to take into account. So this selected style deep house genre is going to have a BPM that's going to be around 124 BPM. You can go to 125, 126, or maybe even to 123. Just stay within that range. And once you decide you have that 124 BPM or 125, then you need to find a song that has a similar BPM, because you don't want to be stretching the acapella too much. Sometimes you can find a song that's a lot slower or maybe a lot faster. Like say you find a song that's around 100 BPM and then you speed it up to 124 and then it actually sounds pretty cool. But that just really depends. It doesn't always work out. So just for a guideline, just try to find something that's pretty close to that 124 BPM. So once you establish the genre and the BPM and you found a song, then you need to figure out if you can find the acapella for that song. Sometimes you can reach out to the artist and get the acapella directly from them. Other times you will have to find the acapella online. Like if you're looking for a really popular song or a hit song, then you can search for the acapella online and see if you can find the studio acapella or maybe a decent quality rip of an acapella. Now what I would do is I would first go to YouTube and see if I can find the studio acapella. So search studio acapella plus the name of the song, because a lot of times people will upload the studio acapella and then you can just easily find it there and download it. If you don't find a studio acapella there, then search for just song name plus acapella and see if you can find a decent quality rip of the acapella. And when I say rip, I mean that people use like an AI program to extract the acapella from the instrumental. And it may not be perfect, but it may be good enough. So now if you can't find the acapella on YouTube, then you can go to one of those websites that extract the acapella from the instrumental that use AI. So that's going to be lala.ai. Or there's one that's called splitter.ai. So you go there, you take your MP3, you load it into the website, and then it will extract the instrumental and the acapella, and it'll give you two stems. Those always don't work out great. Sometimes they work, and then you can use the acapella, but sometimes they don't really work, and then you just have to decide whether the acapella is good enough, the quality is going to be good enough for you to use in your remix. Let's go ahead and take a look at my session here. I'm going to be going through my remix of Motley Crue by Post Malone, and you can actually find the version on YouTube, so just search for that, or I'll put it down below in the video description. And so this acapella is actually not the studio acapella, it's an acapella that was extracted from the instrumental, and I decided that it was pretty good. It sounded decent enough to make a remix around it. So let me just go ahead and play you it. I'll solo it, and I actually detuned it down to -3 semitones because it gives it that deep house vibe. You'll notice that in a lot of this selected style of deep house, or just deep house in general, the vocals are going to be pitched down.
Count up the bands sticking up, no rubber band is speaking up. Chain is so heavy, can pick it up. Came with the gang, myriad. I see you with hilarious. Where's my rope stairs? I went from fast and furious. Curtains we got interior. I get the calls, period. As you can hear, it's not the greatest quality of acapella, but I feel like it worked good enough for me to use in this remix. Once you have the acapella, you need to decide which portion of the acapella that you're going to be using. Sometimes you could just use the hook of the song and then build out the rest of your remix being more instrumental, having some lead synths during the drop. For this particular remix, I actually didn't change the acapella. I just put it in the acapella and built my instrumental remix around it. And so you can do that as well. Since I didn't really change the acapella, I knew that I could structure out my track based upon the original song. And that's what I have done here. You see all these markers here, nicely marked. And then at the end of my session, you see I have marked the key and then also the BPM. I chose my BPM to be 125 because the original track, if I look here, it was 130. And just make sure to warp your track and then set your correct BPM and then do Complex Pro. And then you can adjust your formants to whatever sounds best. So if we look at the structure, I have the beginning of this track has the chorus. I have a verse, pre-chorus, another chorus again. And then we go into the second verse. There's actually two sections to this verse, pre-chorus and then the chorus again. And now for this first chorus, the first time it comes in, I actually drop out all the instruments and it's more of this break. Count up the bands sticking up, no rubber band is speaking up. Chain is so heavy, can pick it up. Came with the gang, myriad.
And then the second time that chorus comes in, I actually bring in all of the instruments. So if you do decide not to change the structure of your acapella, you can at least decide to change the structure of your instrumental. Now, the first thing to building a remix is that you need to decide what the chords are going to be. You can choose to use the chords from the original song. In this example, I don't think I did. I just came up with some chords on my keyboard. And in order to come up with which chords you want to use, you can just start out with the bass because that seems to be the easiest way to do it. And also for deep house, bass tends to be the main element of the song anyway. So that's usually the first thing that you want to decide. So let me go ahead and play you these chords here. And so those are the chords of the entire remix. I just repeated those chords over and over. And this sound is going to be a growl sound. And it's actually from my song Focus. And so what I recommend that you do is as you're making songs, as you're making remixes, to save your sounds as presets or to bounce down any samples that you like as little one-shot samples so that you can reuse them. And then you'll have your own sample pack, and that will make making remixes a lot faster and easier because you will know which sounds you like and which ones you can use and which ones will help you have your own artist style. So I just reused this growl from my song Focus, layered it with a sub bass, and we can check out some of the processing here. It's just going to be some distortion with Saturn and then some Pro Q. EQing, we've got a sub bass, and then we have a respace. So I'll play you the sub bass. And then this respace. And let me play you the beginning so you can hear that beginning bass in the track. And you can see I have everything marked, so it's a lot easier to determine the structure of where things are going to go. So I can have this bass in the chorus here and then decide, okay, now I can just copy this over to the second chorus over here. Let's go ahead and check out the processing on the bass group. I tend to process my bass group with some compression. We have the compression, we have an R bass, we have some EQ, and this is going to be what I use for the sidechain is the Pro C2. We can just take a look really quickly at that. And then I just have this auto filter to do automation. So if I open up the automation, I'll tend to automate the low end out of certain sections to give more impact to an upcoming section. So let's check this out here. So there I took out some of the low end right before it hit that second verse. Let's now go into the drums here. Let's check out what I put on the drum bus. I have a compressor, the very comp. I have a K-clip for soft clipping, and then just some metering going on there. We have the kick. Let's check out the kick. That's the name of the sample if you want to grab it. It's a tech house style of kick, a bit boomy. And here's a hi-hat. And I just used a hat loop, so you can find that on Splice. There's another hat. There's another hat. There's our clap. There's a shaker. There's another really cool hat loop. So we can play all those drums together. That's going to be the vibe for the chorus. Let's check out the chorus one more time so you can hear it in context. And I'll usually build out the chorus first because I'll add in all those elements and then I'll start taking those elements and then taking them to different portions of the track. Because once you build out your chorus, then you know that's going to be the heaviest part of your track. And then you can just reuse elements from that chorus and put them in the verse. And that's basically what it is here. Is, as you can see, I'm using some of the hat here in the beginning, some of these portions of different hats and stuff during the verses and also the pre-chorus. So during this pre-chorus, I have a little clock sound too right here. It's cool. And then I reuse it over here with that little loop. There's little yeah shouts. I don't know why I put that in the drums. That probably shouldn't be there, but that's where it ended up. So here is a tom. And I just put that in that last drop to make it a bit different. Then we have our snare risers. So this snare is going to be a 16th note, and then I have a frequency filter here just to automate it up. And then I also have the gain going up, and I use that style of build pretty frequently as I'm building up into a deep house drop. And then I layer it with that one. So all together, let's just check out that little section here. And that's what it sounds like going into the drop. So we can check out some of the effects here. Now for effects, usually I just find samples on Splice and use various risers and crashes. Like there's a crash there. Here's going to be a reverse crash. You can hear that going into the drop. Here's a downlifter. It's a layer, and then we have an uplifter. Just search on Splice for some good effects, risers and downlifters, put them in your track, see what works, and then try not to overuse them. It seems like I have quite a lot in here, but it's just like some crashes, and I feel like it didn't really take up too much. I had this one thing here in the second pre-chorus where I took part of his vocal and then just made it into a build. To make that second pre-chorus a bit different. Nothing on the bus there, so that's all for that effects group. Let's now go on to the instruments. So for my instruments group, I have a utility plugin, putting all the bass into mono, solid bus compressor, and I have this Ozone 9. I'm using a tape effect, so giving it some more warmth. I tend to just use the presets on these things and then adjust them because sometimes you can find a pretty good setting in those presets. And then I have some EQ, and then I have the Pro C2, and that's adding my sidechain. So this first thing is a little stab sound like that. And I added that in there because there was something wrong with the actual rip of the acapella that had that little weird sound right there. And I couldn't get rid of it, so I just added a stab there to cover it up, and it sounds like it was intentional. So that sounded kind of cool. Now let's go on to this cream style of stab. And for a lot of these sounds in this remix, they are actually going to be in my Serum preset pack, the Volume 2 edition. So if you do like any of the sounds in this remix, then go ahead and check out that preset pack, and I'll put a link down below for you to check that out. So this is just like a saw wave cream style of stab.
Came with the army, yeah. The people, I'm still the same.
You can hear it there. I have a Geta stab, which is like a future rave style of stab. And let's go ahead and check out the MIDI for this cream stab. So really, I'm just layering this get a stab with the cream stab for that last ending part to make that last chorus have more impact. And then I have this Anjuna beat style of stab, which almost adds this eerie tension in the track. Let's listen to it in the beginning. And you can find that sound in my preset pack as well. And that's just going to be a C because this song is in C minor. And then I have some other notes in the second verse. I love that melody. Let's listen to it in the track. What you gonna do? I'ma pull up with the crew. When I'm on the juice, I like to hang out the roof. I'm rocking jewels. I like when the diamonds they move. And then I have this little washout effect, which is actually going to be a little thing that I created that increases the reverb to wash out the sound as you go into a new section. So that is something that you can do is you can automate the decay and the mount on a reverb as you go from one section to the next and put this on a lead type of sound. Here's just a little drone style of stab I put at the end. I have a prophet here. Just to add some texture to that ending. And then I have this bra, bra, bra style of synth sound. So you can hear that. And then these stabs, I actually found a pretty cool sample on Splice and then just chopped these up and made my own melody. Of course, I've got some OTT on there, Echo Boy and Valhalla Vintage Verb, and that made that stab sound. Let's move on to the pads. These are going to be just textures, things to add into the track. You've got to have this string style of sound, the high strings, to add some nice tension to your track. And then we have a layer here. And I'm doing some automation with the frequency. Crazy, crazy. Kick it down, baby. And there's another really cool sound that I found on Splice, so you can just grab that sample if you want to check it out. Just search that in Splice. So these type of atmosphere layers are really important for deep house because for deep house, you want the bass to really carry it, but to give a little bit of texture to your track, you can add in these atmospheres. Navy, seem like two Mercedes. I come when they pay me. Come with Katie, Amy. Cool, go crazy. So you can see with them in the track, it just adds a bit more of depth. So that about does it for the production for this song. Let's go ahead and check out the master chain now. This is generally the master chain that I do for a lot of my mixes. I use a bus compressor. This is a solid bus compressor just from Native Instruments. And I have a K clip here. This is going to be some soft clipping. I'll usually do a compressor, follow that with a soft clipper and some Pro Q3 using some very minor dynamic EQing there. And then I use the vitalizer just to use the stereo expansion knob just to give it some width. I really like how that sounds. And then I have the Pro L2. For the Pro L2, turn on the oversampling, turn on the true peak limiting, and then also you can choose one of these presets and see if those work for you. I just use this bring out the beat preset. And at the top here, I'll usually put in my reference songs or use that plugin reference. These are my reference songs. I had the original track and then I had a song by Cream here, and then I would make a mix and then put in the song of my old mix. So here you can see V3, and then just use that to compare, just turn that on, solo it, and then check it out in A and B, the two mixes. Or I would just use reference here, reference to, I really like this plugin here. So there you have it, guys. That's basically how I would approach making a remix, and hopefully that will help you understand how to create a remix. And hopefully going through some of those sounds and the production elements will help you understand how to make a remix in this select style of deep house. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a like. And also, if you are not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing to my channel. And finally, if you are truly looking to improve your mixing skills, then check out my Modern Mix Academy. This is a full online mixing course that I created that will help you make some of the best records of your life from the comfort of your own home. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.